first speaker is Patrick Carre, who's from Terres Innovia, and he has been in charge of developing the activity of Creole, which is a spin-off from the Technical Centre for Oilseeds, whose activity was focused on the extraction of oils from the cosmetic market, and he worked in R&D for the institute. In 2016, he took the position of R&D lead of OLEAD, which enabled him to extend his activity to the field of vegetable oil refining. And in this year, he joined Terres Innovia as a process expert, where he continues his investigations on processes with the main focus on mechanical extraction, pulse processing, and the effects of thermal treatments on the digestibility of meals. So we'll be very interested in hearing his perspectives on the use of feeds for livestock production, and his presentation is titled Dual Purpose Crop Production Across a Diversity of Livestock Systems in the EU. So Patrick, over to you.
Good morning. The focus of my presentation will concern oilseeds, which can serve to produce food, feeds, and also fuels. I will skip the presentation of my person because it's already done. And I will start by telling that oilseeds are multi-purpose crops. Oilseeds process results in two products, oils and meals. Oils, which are produced in Europe, are partly used to produce biodiesel. The graph on the right shows the amount of oil produced in Europe for rapeseed, sunflower, and soybean. The share devoted to biodiesel are respectively of 56, 19, and 41%. And globally, 41% of the oil are going in fuels, and 59 are available for foods. On the meat side, about 100% is consumed by livestock. In Europe, 9 countries are producing more than 1 million ton a year of oilseed. Regarding land occupation, oilseed are occupying about 10% of arable land, Eastern countries being above average, while Nordic countries having less opportunities to cultivate these crops. Rapeseed produce about 10 million tons of oil and 13 million tons of meal. Sunflower, 3.6 million tons of oil and 4.4 million tons of meal. Soybean, 2 million tons of oil and 12 million tons of meal. Most of soybean being imported from Americas. On economic valuation of these products, oil has the greatest impact. It represents 72% of the total sales in the case of rapeseed, 77% in the case of sunflower, and 33% in the case of soy. The added value, which is the difference between the sales of oils and meals and the seed purchases, is the greatest for rapeseed, with 22% of the seed value for 18 in sunflower and 15 in soybean. The mainstream processing of rapeseed and sunflower is given here with the case of rapeseed matter balance. The seed starts by a thermal conditioning which brings their temperature to 50-60 degrees. Flaking breaks the seed, make oil available and facilitate heat exchange and drying. Cooking brings the seed at a temperature about 100 degrees and leads to water losses. Cooked flakes are then extracted mechanically in screw presses by progressive compression. Pressing extracts about 2/3 of the oil and leaves about 660 kilos of cake. This cake is then extracted by solvent. The principle of solvent extraction is similar to coffee brewing. Warm solvent is poured on the cake, resulting in 2 intermediate products, the marc and the micellar. The solvent is evaporated to recover the oil fraction, and the marc is also heated to recover the solvent. So the process main characteristics are the dominance of oil in oil meal profitability, The high performances in terms of oil extraction with yields up to 98%. It's a mature process which is highly optimized. The cost reduction was obtained by enlarging the capacity of crushing units, and that's an oligopolistic market with few multinational operators. The figure on the right shows you the repartition of oil mills in Germany according to their capacities. The six largest units are crushing about 60% of the seeds. The next six, 30% of the seeds, leaving to the smallest 41 just 10% of the volumes. The biggest determinant in profit in oil mill is the oil yield. For that, the oil content of the seed is an important factor. It is governed by the seed genetic and by agronomy. Another factor is the use of solvent. Using solvent is the only way to extract all the oil. Preparation of the seed also plays a role by making the oil extractable. The control of processing cost is second by importance. It comes by making economies of scale, by reducing the energy consumption, and ensuring the safety of operation by a maximum solvent recovery. A third factor is the oil quality. It's mainly determined by the prevention of enzymatic degradation of oils and by avoiding thermal damages like dark coloration or oxidation. And the last and least parameter is the meal quality. Two factors have the main impact on the meal quality: the temperature of desolventizing, because long exposure to high temperature lead to losses in protein digestibility. The second factor is the possibility of dehulling, which makes it possible to increase the protein content of the meal. But we have conflict between these objectives because solvent recovery is requiring high temperature and high duration in desolventizer, and it leads to a degradation of the protein digestibility, especially in rapeseed. And concerning dehulling, we have a conflict with oil yield because dehulling generally leads to losses in oil. Regarding the quality of rapeseed meal, let's consider what we have today and what we could have. This table shows a characteristic of actual meal on the left, and on the right shows of an improved meal that could be the result of better processing and efficient dehulling. The actual meal contains 34% of protein, while the virtual one could have 43%. That improvement will be made possible by the removal of the hull, which are containing almost all the lignin of the seed, 2/3 of the cellulose, and 60% of the hemicellulose. Minerals are mostly contained in the germ, so dehulling would lead to a concentration in ashes. The technical hurdles that are preventing to get that process are the oil losses linked to dehulling, because rapeseed hull are containing 8% of hull, and sorting hull and kernel is difficult. A second factor is the poor performances of mechanical extraction, because the lack of fiber leads to difficulties to generate pressure in the presses, and the resulting press cake has a poor extractability by the solvent. In the case of sunflower, two qualities are available. We have the so-called low pro, which is a undehulled meal containing about 28% of protein, and the so-called high pro, having 35% of protein. Like for rapeseed, this concentration of protein is a result of dehulling, but in the case of sunflower, it's only a partial dehulling, leaving room for higher protein concentration, maybe above 40%. Dehulling decreases the fiber in the meal and improves the energy and protein digestibility. and the digestibility of protein could pass from 73 to 81%. And like for rapeseed, the mechanical extraction of wild dihol material is difficult, and so it's also resulting in difficulties for the hexane extraction. Beside the current mainstream process, we are assisting to the emergence of a new model in France, a model of decentralized oil mill. The graph on the right shows you the growth of decentralized oil mill in terms of crushing capacities. After a fast expansion in 2006-7, it keeps on growing slowly up to now, representing today about 10% of the oilseed crushing capacity. And in the near future, this expansion will accelerate again with numerous projects about to come on stream. This development is motivated by the demand of the feed sector for local, traceable, and non-GM protein for the nutrition of high-end animals. It results in the production of meats that contain more oil, but these oil mills are operated by people who have a greater interest in protein quality. So, as a conclusion, 4 takeaway information and 1 reminder. About the oilseed sector, it represents 10% of arable land today. It is important for the crop rotation. The actual perspective of progress in milk quality are coming from oilseed breeding. Thank you very much.